Hi, FlossTube Stitchers. It's Labor Day weekend, which I've always thought of as the unofficial end of summer. Even if school had already started, it's like that last scheduled official day off that you can celebrate with a barbecue or a picnic or something. But also in our area, it's starting to feel like fall because it's chilly, especially in the evenings, but even starting to cool off earlier in the evening when we're walking our dogs. We went to the Lorain County Fair 2 weeks ago and we both wore sweatshirts. And we don't remember ever having to wear a sweatshirt to the fair before. So it's definitely heading towards officially being fall. I know people that have been stitching Halloween and now they might be moving on to their Christmas things. But we're gonna do one last little patriotic fling because this past week, our lovely customer and friend Phyllis W. brought us some new models on loan because she was ready to move on with her fall decorating. So we have some patriotic things to show you. Phyllis is lovely, inside and out. And also, because she's starting to label her pictures with the information on the back, because sometimes I don't think about it until the last minute and like, oh shoot, I don't remember what she chose for this, or does this look like one of the automatic from Atomic Ranch this year that she might have used? So anyway, she is starting to put Post-it notes on the back of her pieces. And I kind of wish Bonnie would do that, or I should take better notes when my framer is talking about stitching a piece, because we just forget. So anyway, the first one is by the Calico Confectionery. It's called Liberty Sampler. And I believe that Phyllis chose this because I had mentioned once before that I thought this designer was underrated and underappreciated and not really seen on social media too much. And so she looked at the designs and picked this one out, and I just want to copy her exactly. She did hers on 36 linen in the color light denim, and this is from the Atomic Ranch automatic program this year. So it's even a little bit bluer in person, but that's a pretty good representation of it. But I just love this designer, and I want to stitch this one, but now I won't make it a priority since I have the model here, maybe for next year. All right, and then the next one is also on my list to do. Phyllis and I share the same taste in a lot of things. This is from Erin Elizabeth Designs, and it's called American Flag, and she did it on the suggested 32 Belfast from Zweigart in the color Vintage Smoky White, and she used the silks that are called for that we had ordered at the same time as the charts for convenience. And you know, it's not bad to buy silk and spend the money on it if your project uses a lot of stitching in that color and the color palette is small for the whole design. So in this case, you're only buying two. It was Shades of Wine and Midnight. And I, again, want to do it the same way because I don't feel there's any need to change what the designer did. And she kept the frame simple to show off the intricacies of the pattern. Alrighty. Then the next two are by Shepherd's Bush. This is a kit done on 10 count fabric. Whoops, I'm going to try not to show too much glare there. It's called Red, White, and Blue. And Phyllis chose this, I call it chunky fabric, the 10 count fabric, and you're using the pearl cotton, or 6 strands of floss. I can't remember which one this called for. But she calls these types of projects her car stitching because it's easy enough to do when you're traveling. It's also good for beginners if you're teaching a child or an adult that's never done this form of hobby before. That's a good one to start with. Then the next one we've had before by another stitcher. But this is framed differently. In fact, I'm not even sure. I think Kate still has hers at home, so I can't compare them. But when we get hers back after the season, I might put them together so you can see the difference. And this is called Old Glory, comes in kit form. And there's a lot of specialty stitches and some buttons, and it's really pretty. I believe this has a mat by Jill Rensel Studio that I already own in my stash somewhere. So one of these days, I really need to get this one stitched because I've already, spent the money on the specialty framing. Alrighty. And then the last one is not patriotic, but I decided to show this since it's summery and we're moving on in theme. And I showed this for my Friday's fave, I think. It's called Seaside Flamingos by the designer Stitches by Ethel. And my framer loves to add beads. So she added petite beads for the flamingo beaks and their little knobby kneecaps, and the extra little motifs that are scattered around, and then the conch shells. So I love when Bonnie comes back with something that she's added beads to. It does encourage stitchers to do the same thing, so that's a fun add-on if they're buying the chart and the fabric. And speaking of the fabric, I tried to match this up to something we have now, and I can't find it. We're either out of it or this is something she had in her stash from a previous fabric automatic program that she belonged to. But it's a really pretty, like, pale aqua teal. And I love the double frame here. It kind of looks like a window that you're looking outside. There's a little bit of perspective there. Anyway, she's going to love the fact that there are new Stitches by Ethel charts coming soon from Needlework Marketplace. She's always the first one to buy one. It's one of her favorite designers. Okay, my whip, yes, I say whip, in the last week or so, this is all I've been working on. Oh, I guess I'm going to show you the picture first, the whole thing, because it's a free chart. So, and I didn't print it. I'm just stitching from my device. Let's see if I can show it to you without too much glare. It's called Pumpkins in a Basket, and Diane from Little House Needleworks designed it for her stitching group. So if you go to the fan group, Little House and Country Cottage Stitching Group, I think it's called, on Facebook, you will have access to this chart. And I had to start it. And this was 2 nights, only 2? Yeah, 2 nights of stitching. And I only changed the color of the wording and the leaves to bean sprout, and I'm keeping the rest of the colors the called for DMC. But I just thought it would be fun to do the lettering in an overdye. And the bean sprout was kind of close to the original that she had called for. And I'm doing 1 strand of floss on 32 count Abecedarian blend by R&R Reproductions, which I had just gotten in recently. The picture I showed on social media was kind of horrible because it makes this fabric look brown. That's because I was taking the photo under the overhead light in my kitchen at midnight, and I just could not, the color just did not come out right no matter how I held the camera, and I was trying to show the picture on my device with the little bit of stitching I had done. And anyway, this is a pretty good representation. It's kind of a, it's a neutral, but with a little bit of a yellow tone to it. And I think it's going to look really good with all the oranges that are going on later for the pumpkins. So that is Pumpkins in a Basket. And I'm going to halt right here and show you another new one by Diane called The Pumpkin. And this is going to be the giveaway. So Tell me what you think the perfect floss color is for a pumpkin. It could be DMC, Anchor, an overdyed, silk, whatever. Just tell me what a good pumpkin color is. And Diane does write a lot of the verses herself on her charts, but this is a portion of a poem called The Pumpkin, written in 1846 by John Greenleaf Whittier. And I'm just gonna, because I know you couldn't see from what I showed you here, I'm gonna read it to you if you don't mind. I'm not a public speaker, so have some grace. Okay. O greenly and fair in the lands of the sun, the vines of the gourd and the rich melon run, and the rock and the tree and the cottage enfold, with broad leaves all greenness and blossoms all gold. I just think that's really pretty. I love how all the motifs are scattered around. I love that the border isn't the same on all sides. The colors are just so pretty. Fall has always been my favorite season. Thanksgiving's my favorite holiday. So I definitely will stitch this eventually, but I'll finish the free one first and maybe do this a little later on in the season. So tell me that color of pumpkin that you like, and we'll put you in the random number generator next week. Okay, moving on. The reason that I felt comfortable starting something new on the spur of the moment was because I finished two things. So first, I finished Halloween Pillow by Flossabilities. I'm only showing you the chart for the difference. They did theirs on Old Salem 30 count linen by their Primitive Hair. And I loved this, but I knew that there were some fun colors coming in soon. So I waited until I got my Picture This Plus order, and I'm doing it. No, I already did it. I stitched it on 16 Voodoo from Picture This Plus with Color and Cotton Witch's Brew, just one strand. And this was one of the last motifs that I did, and I never really thought about it when I was stitching it. I just recognized everything as being a Halloween motif. But as I was stitching it, I thought, wait a minute, is that what I think it is? So I showed my husband the pattern, and he's like, is it a funny looking bat? And I'm like, no, there's bats over here. So it's not a bat because nothing's duplicated. And then, I made him name all of the other things, and he had to think a little bit for the broom. But when we got to this one, he's like, I don't really know. And I go, does it look like an animal howling? So he said werewolf. I was thinking coyote, but of course, that's because we have coyotes in our area. But of course, werewolf makes more sense for Halloween. So I was actually looking forward to speaking to these designers during the Needlework Marketplace, but there was a time difference, and I also had an issue with not being able to video chat. So I was very disappointed that the technology was failing on so many different levels during the weekend. We all wasted a lot of time having to fix things and ask questions and message the sponsors of the show asking, what's going on. So anyway, that was disappointing, but Lauren and Sam will see it eventually because I know Lauren watches my FlossTubes. Hi. Okay, so that was Halloween Pillow. Then, let's see, I guess I don't have to show you the chart because it is done. I did, I guess it's not on the front cover, but anyway, the other finish I did was from this year's Cross Stitch Halloween issue from just Cross Stitch Magazine. And I am doing it on 28 count Nocturne Lugana from Picture This Plus. And I'm using, I think I used all of the suggested Gentle Art colors because I had them. So this is Beware. And the designer's name is Xenia, and I started following her on Facebook, so all the information is in the magazine. And you could probably just use any solid black that you like, DMC, Anchor, mascara from Weeks Dye Works, but this called for black licorice and I had it. So I decided I was going to use it. And when people talk about thread chicken, this is my thread chicken. There was nothing left that was usable. I actually had, I think I had 6 strands that were about yay long, and there are 7 letters in the word beware. So I thought, well, if I kind of did as much as I could and do more than one letter, I got the BEE done and realized there's no way because the W is kind of like 2 letters with the X's. So I took it out and I just stitched it with Anchor Black. And I don't think you can tell because black licorice really is a pretty, you know, solid dark black rather than being over dyed. But I just thought it was funny. Like, yeah, I've heard of thread chicken, but I had never experienced to quite this level. So anyway, I'm excited about that because I don't stitch that much Halloween and I already have a couple new things for this year. Okay, that was my stitching. Then what we got in new recently was, of course, the Atomic Ranch Fabric Automatic. And the 3 counts that I always have left are right here. This is 36 Edinburgh. This is 16 Aida, and the one on the bottom is 20 count Aida. So the Aidas turned out lighter this time, and I think the 32 and 36 linen were a little bit darker. So it's a very pretty color. It's kind of like a tealy aqua. It could almost lean towards a denim color. You know how denim is just never the same across brands. So the darker colors kind of reminded me of a faded tealish like denim color, and the lighter colors looked more aqua for maybe summer designs or a mermaid or something. But anyway, it's very pretty. Everybody who has picked it up in person, I think, has liked it so far. And I love when people show me what they're stitching with their fabrics, because I want people to use them. I don't want you just to put them in your stash and think they're pretty. I want you to actually cut into them and use them. Then I had been planning on ordering from Crafty Bluebonnet Designs since even before the Nashville market. She kind of started off with her spool series, and I must admit that in the beginning I thought, are people gonna do everything in the shape of a spool? Like, our thread doesn't really come on spool, so if maybe somebody's not a seamstress, maybe they're not gonna get the appeal of this. I wasn't sure, so I kind of hung back and waited, you know, to see what else. I thought they were cute. I just wasn't sure I wanted to jump into getting them. And then every once in a while she would throw out, because I think she started in 2023. And every once in a while she would throw in a bigger design, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, there's some other things. Well, anyway, at market, I took a lot of pictures in her room, but I feel like I had already crashed through my budget. So I had talked to her about doing a trunk show, and she likes to travel with her show and make it into a vacation with her family. And it didn't work out for this summer. So we tentatively just have her pencil it in for next late spring or summer, maybe when school's out. And I think she might homeschool. So that's even negotiable. But anyway, I was very excited to have a conversation with her about a week before market, because then I couldn't video chat during market. So at least I had a personal conversation with her about that. I'm only going to show you the newer things because the rest you can see on her site or on Hoffman Distributing. And I didn't get every single thing that she had, because then it was too much and I didn't have that kind of budget either. So I will slowly get all of the titles in. I started with the Christmas and Halloween spools, but they've been around, so I'm not gonna show those. And I had been waiting for the Ohio State spool. I may even start this week. So I think this is one of 17 states that she's done so far. It's got the football. We have the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton, and then the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is in Cleveland. So anyway, I might start this week. And all the state spools are 7. Most of the other spools are 7, but some of them are more because they include more than just the design on the spool. So the bigger ones are a little bit more. Then I'll just show you the seasonal ones that were newer to market. So this is Halloween Stitchy Stakes. Hey Boo and the Little Spooky. You get both designs. So Spooky and Sweets and Eeks. And she also shows it on one of those mesh bags. And then there were 2 wintry ones, Christmas Village Church and Everyone Can Build a Snowman. I definitely have to do this. I love snowman things that you can leave out for months on end because we have had snow up until April sometimes. So I have a good excuse for leaving my snowman up for longer than the rest of you in other states. Okay, then we got the Brenda Gervais automatic with Thy Needle and Thread. Let me show this the right way. This is Autumn Trio. Very, very cute. Speaking of the squirrel, nobody was speaking of a squirrel, but that seeing that reminded me, the free chart from Diane in the Little House Stitch Group was a poll that she put out there. You know, I think, what season do you want me to design a freebie for, and what elements do you want in it? And I remember voting for squirrel, but I think pumpkin, or I think pumpkins was already decided, and she said what other motifs, and I voted on squirrel, and leaves won. So anyway, squirrel reminded me of that. So I just love squirrels and foxes. They're all really pretty. You can't pick just one, you have to stitch all 3. And then Manor at Swan Lake, if you like stitching big houses and filled in grassy areas. And then Quaker Snippets #1. So you know there's going to be more in that series. That's so pretty. More squirrels, acorns, and owl. That is really, really nice. Then Erin Elizabeth, I'm going to show you this first. It's called Spells and Potions, all done in one color. She did her model on 36 chickpea. And I put the thread in the back, but the color name is turned around, so I need to, okay, black coral. I also got 1 thread pack in case somebody wanted to start that right away and wanted to use the silk that she called for. So that's a Dinky Dyes. And then the rest of these are part of a series called Halloween Block Party. So there you can get a good close-up of all 12 together on the same piece of fabric, and then I'll just show each individual one. So that's Booze, Candy House, Frank House, Fright, Ghost House, October 31st, Pumpkin House, R.I.P. House, Tomb, Sweet Tomb. I love that they're all finished differently besides showing them all on one. I think that's really clever and gives you lots of good ideas. Trick or Treat, Witch House, and Witch Parking. And then the winner of the Dinky Dies scissors from 2 weeks ago, the last video, is Gleeful Gretchen. And she said her favorite brand of scissor is Ginger. And her two that she uses most often are the embroidery and the sewing, and they both happen to be Gingers. And yep, that's a really great brand. So she's got some good ones going there. Okay, that is all I have for you tonight, except for the fair video at the end. Enjoy! See you next week. Bye-bye.